Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and always a delight and a hoot and a fun time and very informative time to have with us our good friend, MeganReaganBaby.com. No, actually, Megan Barth, who heads up ReaganBaby.com, one of the great resources out there, and delight to have her. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great, Perry. Thanks for having me on today. I'm sorry about my voice, but I lost it. I was at the inauguration and in D.C. for 5 days. So I have a little bit of a frog still in my throat.
That's okay. And it doesn't look like that smile will ever come off your face.
No, it was a great time. What an event. My first inauguration I've ever been to. And I would recommend, no matter what side of the fence you're on, if you have an opportunity to go to inauguration, you should, because I witnessed history and the peaceful transition of power, and it is such an extraordinary time to be around the Capitol during inauguration. It was just great. Yeah,
it really was. What did you think of his speech?
I thought his speech was great, and I loved how the press, the mainstream media, is completely melting down over some of the verbiage in the speech. But we shouldn't expect anything differently because the press's candidate didn't get in. And that's a real sad state of affairs when honest journalism is dead. I loved that he used the word carnage. Because, Andrew Breitbart said one time that truth isn't mean, it's truth. And when you look at the inner cities, specifically that have been run by Democrats for decades, how else can you come up with another word but carnage? Barack Obama hightailed it for his last speech to Chicago, whereby he was basically standing on the graves of 800 homicide victims, and 800 homicides occurred in 2016 and 4,000 shootings. What else do you call that but carnage? And so these policies by which Donald Trump will enact as president, I believe, will create much success in these types of inner cities and release release the Democrats from control, and we will be able to beat the Democrats through this type of success.
He also kind of put the entire Congress on notice. The day of empty talk is over. Now's the day of action. I mean, he was going after not only the left, but he was going after the right.
He was saying exactly what he said on the campaign trail, which ushered him into the presidency. He spoke with directness and honesty. He put aside the political speak and political correctness. And there is going to be significant change that comes to Washington, change that the American people voted for. And for much too long, we've had two parties that have agreed to go along to get along and to grow government and to do bad trade deals and to keep our borders open. And what's the difference between a Republican and a Democrat when Republicans are voting like Democrats?
Well, we'll see what happens. He has come out with a couple of executive orders. He's again softening the impact of Obamacare. I guess he's greasing the skids for the big repeal and replacement. That was one of his executive orders. He did meet with the CIA to go over there and kind of calm things down. What do you think about that?
I thought it was needed, and I thought it was a good speech. He is reaching out to the organizations. Look, Brennan should be tried, quite frankly, because I believe, and so what the reports look like is he's the leaker. You don't leak classified information to the mainstream media. You don't leak classified information, period. That is subject to penalties through law. And so we definitely have a leak in the CIA. And don't you find it interesting, too, Perry, that they ran with basically a pornography story, treated it like truth, leaked it to the press, and did nothing about the terrorism in Fort Lauderdale regarding the jihadist terrorists that wound up in Fort Lauderdale because these intelligence agencies gave him his gun back after he said he was part of ISIS.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a serious problem in our intelligence agencies. It starts at the top, and they are so concerned with taking down Donald Trump instead of gathering the right intelligence to protect our country.
It's interesting. I watched that carefully, and it seemed to me he was certainly welcomed when he came into the CIA over the weekend and met with them. There was that feeling, and it was just a feeling I got, that the rank and file of the CIA is thrilled to have him there, and that they recognize that the top of the CIA has gotten politicized and a new day has arrived. Did you sense that?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, when I say that the intelligence agencies have been compromised, they haven't been compromised by the men and women that are doing, you know, the grunt work of intelligence. They're compromised by the top down. Our commander, our former commander-in-chief, politicized the very intelligence agencies that are supposed to protect us. Let's not forget that there were leakers and whistleblowers, I believe, that came from the Pentagon that said, look, they're taking information and basically sugarcoating it in order to make it seem to the American people like ISIS has been contained, when in fact ISIS was growing rapidly in various regions throughout the world. And so this type of politicization by Barack Obama has led to the disaster by which Donald Trump now has to inherit, and that comes from internally in our agencies as well as abroad.
All right, let's go over to the media.
They are sick.
Spicer got off to a bumpy start on his first one. He gave a statement, then left the room, and then picked a fight over the number of attendees at the inauguration. Where do you think this one's going, Megan?
You know, we cannot forget who's on Donald Trump's transition team and now within his administration. In his administration, Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon worked very closely with Andrew Breitbart. Why did Andrew Breitbart start Breitbart.com? In order to destroy the mainstream media, period. He uncovered their bias, and thereby he wanted to destroy them, because the honest journalism is dead. And so they understand that the filter of the news media is going to be one-sided and biased in favor of the opposition, all those that are trying to undermine a Donald Trump presidency. What exactly does Donald Trump owe the press? He owes them some time, but we're not playing their game. This is not their sandbox anymore. They had plenty of opportunity in the last 8 years to vet and ask questions of an administration that endangered many lives, whether it was through the implementation of Obamacare or whether it was the foreign policy or the economic policy by which they executed by fiat. And the press simply looked the other way. And so the press now wants to ask all of these questions that they didn't want to ask before. And they want to make these false accusations and run with DNC talking points. Well, that game is over. There's a new sheriff in town, there's a new deputy, and we have a new spokesperson who understands that the enemy is the press, because the press is never going to paint Donald Trump in a good light, nor should they. They should be skeptics, but they were never skeptics of Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama.
Very well said. Newt Gingrich made the comment when he wasn't selected for any cabinet post or anything within the Trump administration. He said he's fine with that because his goal over the next 4 years is to attack the press. So you got a Sean Spicer and you got a Newt Gingrich going after the credibility of the press. It's a new day in the White House press room, right?
I am so excited.
By the way, those listening on radio, she's jumping up and down.
Yeah, I'm giving the big thumbs up. This is exactly what we need. And this is why Steve Bannon, I thought, was an extraordinary pick in order to be an advisor, because the press has been completely absent in their objectivity. They are biased. They are all progressives. They are cheerleaders of the left. No more. And so I hope that he does. I hope Newt Gingrich does work with the likes of Sean Spicer to try to keep the press honest for a change. I would welcome that with open arms.
All right, let me take a quick break here, Megan. We'll be back. And by the way, folks, you can go to ReaganBaby.com. That's Megan's website. We just, in a nice way, in a loving way, call her Megan Reagan Baby. And but you can go to ReaganBaby.com, and it's a great resource. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
I'm Paulina Leiser, producer of Focus Today. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to check our other videos at theDove.us.
Welcome back to Focus Today, and delighted to have back with us Megan Barth. She heads up I want to call her Megan Reagan Baby. That's her. That's what we call it. But ReaganBaby.com. There we go. That's the website. ReaganBaby.com. Sorry about that. By the way, Megan, I have to tell you, you know, when you text somebody, you can usually put a smiley face or a little something there.
Yeah.
Well, when I have you on, you have a bunch of fans that have my personal cell number, which is a mistake, and they always just give me the thumbs up. They just text me a thumbs up when you're on. So there you go.
Well, thumbs up right back at you.
All right, what happened over the weekend in Washington? We had them here in Ashland, Oregon. We had them in Portland, Oregon. Our own governor got up and spoke at these rallies.
How embarrassing.
And then you have Madonna. My stars, I never heard such vulgarity. What's going on? What's this all about? What do they want?
No one seems to know. They were protesting before Donald Trump even took the oath of office, but supposedly the protest wasn't against Donald Trump. You're right. So I was in the midst of the belly of the beast, and I was in D.C., and I was watching all of these aggrieved victims walk around with their pink knitted pussycat hats on, and no one could seem to tell me what exactly they were aggrieved about or how they were victimized. And so you have a bunch of women, and let's look at the new feminist. Let's look at the new feminists, Perry. I'd love to hear some comments from your governor. They had a communist as a keynote speaker. They had a CARE sympathizer, a Muslim sympathizer who wants to implement Sharia law into this country. So a woman who loves the subjugation of women as a keynote speaker. They had, who else? Oh, yeah, Madonna, who I wouldn't call a pillar of virtue. And so all of these aggrieved victims wearing their pink hats took to the streets and brought their daughters and introduced their daughters to this depraved, vile behavior, and then praised communists and Sharia law. Now, how does that elevate women? So we're teaching a whole young generation. I saw a 13-year-old girl with a sign talking about her pussycat.
I don't know. I'm just stunned by this. I thought, I certainly hope the White House doesn't respond. They just let it fade out, because when the demonstrations are over, what happens next, you know?
Yeah, where are all these victims going to go? Are they going to keep wearing their pink hats? I mean, I saw morbidly obese women that weren't marching. I saw communists. I saw Muslim women in full burqa and hijab somehow marching for what? Women's rights? I mean, does anyone see the absolute foolishness and the dichotomy in this spectacle? Where were they? Where were these women when Barack Obama was dropping bombs every 20 minutes?
Well, where are they when they cut the heads of women and children off?
Yeah. I have no idea. They remained silent. But now Donald Trump is president, and they have an issue over something he said 13 years ago, but now they're exposing their daughters to the filth that they've aligned themselves with. Way to go, ladies. Way to go.
Okay, so what happens to this? I mean, some people said this morning this is the new modern fascist movement of the left that's now been exposed to the country. And you got to understand, I mean, Oregon's pretty liberal, and we saw it at both ends of the state here in a big way, and our governor stepped up and yelled out her beliefs. You know, I can't even repeat some of the stuff that was said, but I'm thinking, okay, so where does this go now? What happens? Do you have any idea?
Well, if it's going to be like it was during the Bush-Cheney years with the Code Pink movement, they took to the streets every weekend to cause dissent and to create chaos and to completely, delegitimize and insult the office of the presidency. So I don't think that these people are going away. However, we do know who is funding these types of protests, and it comes from the communist George Soros. He funded at least 50 buses into D.C. We know that CARE was one of the sponsors, which is a proponent of Sharia, which women have zero rights under Sharia. And then we know that there's other radical communist organizations. So now these radical feminists love communism as they did back in the 1960s. But now the new thing is Sharia law. So I'd like to understand how subjugation is somehow empowering to women. What I think we need is more like ambush reporting by women like me that is going to get in these women's face and make fools out of them, because they're certainly making fools out of themselves.
Yeah, I just don't know what they're gaining or what they're doing. It seems like to me, the more they do this, the more of the emboldenment you will see on the Trump side, at least for the movement that put him into office. It seems like it strengthens that movement.
Yeah, I say keep protesting, expose yourselves to be the fools that you are, and we'll just keep on winning. We're only going to defeat the left through our success. And I think that the policies, the economic and foreign policies that are going to be implemented by this new administration is going to pull a lot more people over to the conservative side, to the Republican Party, or to whatever you want to call them, a populist. That's fine. But I think success and truth are our two greatest weapons in our arsenal to defeat this unhinged movement in the left.
Do you have any idea, Megan, why Chuck Schumer was given time at the inauguration?
Absolutely not. And I lost my voice because I was screaming, grab a hook, get him off. What was he doing? This was not, number one, he's the leader of the minority party, meaning they have no power. Number two, he was simply supposed to introduce Clarence Thomas. I don't need to hear a dissertation about LGBTQIA-MOPZ on the steps of the Capitol. That wasn't his place, but always leave it to a Democrat to abandon statesmanship and make sure that the spectacle is on them and that they take over. It's all about them. It's never about the process.
How many times does Nancy Pelosi escort somebody down those steps? It seemed like she spent most of her time running around and getting in front of somebody. It was amazing. And then I will say this. I thought it was classy of Trump to recognize the Clintons at that luncheon. It was a nice thing to do. It did kind of diffuse things, but I don't think it lets her off the hook from being investigated. And isn't it interesting that Barack Obama did not pardon her on his way out the door?
Well, what's he going to pardon her for if she did nothing wrong? Is he going to pardon her for being extremely careless? I didn't understand that whole pardon issue. Yeah, the FBI is still investigating the Clinton Foundation. And I'm curious, where were all these women protesting the fact that Hillary Clinton took tens of millions of dollars from countries that practice Sharia law, the subjugation of women? The women remained silent. I was also part of the crowd that was screaming, lock her up. And some people were saying, oh, well, that's not very classy. You shouldn't have done that. No, actually, I'm very happy that I was part of the hundreds of people that were screaming, lock her up, if not thousands of people, because that's exactly where she belongs.
She heard it. You could tell. Even Bill Clinton heard it. They heard it. And you could see that.
I don't know if you saw that video of Bill Clinton checking out Ivanka Trump and then Hillary Clinton catching him and just kind of looking away like, yep, seen all this before, you rascal.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that picture and short video went viral. Everybody, I think, saw that. Just let you know. All right, so Trump is now the new president. He's off and running this morning. They are saying that his EOs this week will be substantial executive orders. Which one do you want to see happen first?
I would love to see him repeal DACA and DAPA immediately. I'd love to see an EO of some sort on the wall. I would love to see an EO on the elimination of the hundreds, if not thousands, of regulations that the EPA, as well as other branches of government, had passed that had strangled small businesses and the working class in this country. So there's plenty of ones that I want to see, but I think we need to eliminate DACA and DAPA immediately.
He's going after the Pacific Partner Trade Agreement pretty heavily today. Where do you think that goes? Is that completely taken off the table, you think?
The Trans-Pacific Partnership? Yeah. I think it's going to go off the table. It needs to get off the table. It's another bad deal that is against the working men and women of this country and rewards other countries, and then leaves us in the dust. By the way,
from our perspective here as broadcasters, we got a new chairman of the FCC. Chairman Pai is the new chairman. He has been with us all along. Of course, he was a minority under Chairman Wheeler. But now that Chairman Pai is back in charge of the FCC, it looks like we're going to have some deregulation go for us broadcasters, which is long overdue.
Yeah, good, because the last 8 years, the FCC has been gunning, especially for conservative talk shows and broadcasts. So, this new administration is definitely going to put in the right people. I just hope that, unlike George W. Bush, he fires every single Obama, Clinton, and Bush appointee.
Yeah. There's rumors that we'll see a Supreme Court nominee, justice nominee, by the end of the week.
Right.
We have no idea what it is, but Judge Napolitano kind of went to the tower and got interviewed. What would you think if he was the guy?
Interesting. I didn't hear that. He's a true Federalist. I think he has more of a libertarian bend, I think, politically. But, he is definitely, implements the law, or at least interprets the law, rather, according to a Federalist Constitution. So what a concept. We're not going to have an activist liberal judge on the court. And look, Donald Trump saved the Supreme Court. If Hillary Clinton would have had the presidency, we would have lost for decades, if not for a millennia.
Yeah, they say it's one of the main reasons that Donald Trump won. People who didn't like him voted for him because of the Supreme Court, which lives generations past the presidency, no question about it. Well, Megan, you're a hoot and a delight. We love you. What's going on at ReaganBaby.com?
I've got a few articles up from contributors that you should check out. One comes from a woman who grew up in the 70s during the time of Steinem and was actually mentored by men. And so it's a great article. It's kind of like an anti-feminist article, but I'll be writing on my experience in D.C. I came up against some anarchists and some female protest work there. So that's what you can expect.
All right, you can go to ReaganBaby.com. That's her website. Thank you, Megan. Good to see you. Talk to you soon. All right, take care of your voice. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back, and David Horowitz will be with us.